Back with an in-depth look at a case that captivated the nation. In June of 2021, two members of a powerful South Carolina family were shot and killed on their family estate. Prominent attorney Alec Murdaugh was charged with the deaths of his wife Maggie and son Paul.
A jury found him guilty last year following a dramatic trial. He's now serving 2 life sentences while maintaining his innocence. And just last week, the South Carolina Supreme Court agreed to hear Murdaugh's appeal.
So few people know the ins and outs of this case better than Wall Street Journal reporter Valerie Bauerlein. She was in court literally every day. And she's written a new book. It comes out tomorrow. It is called The Devil at His Elbow, Alec Murdaugh and The Fall of a Southern Dynasty. I've known Valerie for almost a quarter century now, hard to believe. Good to have you in.
Morning.
I read the book. It's absolutely fantastic, especially for folks who thought they knew the trial, thought they knew the Murdaughs. I was telling you after I finished, it reads like this redneck Yellowstone. I mean, because you go back, it's exhaustively researched. You go back 3 or 4 generations at least, not just Alec Murdaugh, but this family, the great-grandfather, the grandfather. What did you find as you researched this family?
You know, I think I had the same question everybody had. It was just, how did this happen? How could a man kill his wife and son? And you really have to go back to the beginning, back to the start of this family to understand that he thought he could get away with everything because his family had gotten away with all manner of things for 100 years. You have to understand the place where he's from. The Murdaughs ran Hampton County since the early 1900s.
You were in court every day. Why do you think, not just in your area, but the country was so captivated by this case?
I think this case has everything, right? I mean, it really has all 7 of the deadly sins. It takes place in a fascinating place, the South. I mean, it's one of the only places in the country that just evokes an image in your mind. But I think also there just was such an incredible amount of emotional and kind of physical violence that he committed. If you think about all the people he robbed for a number of years, it's a captivating story, and I think people really wanted to understand how it could happen.
And that leads to the question that you said, how could somebody kill their own wife and son? And, you know, Alex has denied any financial pressure, but is that the story?
You have to remember all the things that were bearing down on him on June 7th of 2021. He knew that he had been stealing from the most vulnerable, poor people in his area for more than a decade, and that he was on the verge of being found out. The law firm administrator confronted him that afternoon about $792,000 that was missing. His father, who was his protector, Randolph Murdaugh III, was being rushed to the hospital really for the last time. And he also knew that he had this, you know, the death of Mallory Beach, the tragic boat accident in 2019. There was a hearing coming up on June 10th, just a few days away, where his financials were at risk of being exposed. All this is bearing down on him that afternoon. And, you know, the evidence shows he lured his wife and son back to Moselle that afternoon with that pressure on him.
The way your book starts, I won't give away too much. I want folks to buy the book, but it's just fascinating that more than 100 years ago you had Murdaughs who were already playing loose with the law, shall we say. We just showed some video of Alec Murdaugh testifying during the course of the case. That was undeniably probably the most controversial part of the case itself from a strategic standpoint. Why do you think he took the stand, and do you think that him taking the stand ultimately cost him his freedom?
You know, I think he took the stand because it was his birthright to take the stand. That courtroom where we were, Colleton County Courtroom, Colleton County Courthouse, is tiny. Yeah. It's, you know, he had tried a case there just a couple of months before. His father tried cases there. His grandfather actually was accused of accepting a cash bribe in the hallway right outside where we walk through every day. You know, it was his birthright. And you remember they took the portrait down off of the back wall of his grandfather because it was his birthright to take the stand. And I think he thought he could convince everybody because he'd convinced everybody of everything for a long time.
You interviewed so many people for this saga, if you will. Would you ever want to talk to him?
You know, I did. I talked to 200 people. I talked to a lot of people who hadn't talked to anybody yet. So I did talk to a lot of people. You know, of course, I'd want to talk to him. But, you know, I just don't think, you won't get an opportunity. He's in the South Carolina Department of Corrections, and they have a very strict policy. No one will ever interview him. But also, you know, remember, he gave us 2 days on the stand of who he was. And then at his sentencing in Beaufort back in November, he talked, you know, uninterrupted for 45 minutes. And I remember just putting my notebook down and looking at him, and I was like, he doesn't know himself. It would be really a fool's errand to try to interview somebody who is not capable of telling the truth.
Valerie Bauerlein, again, the book, it's a great read. It's called The Devil at His Elbow. Alec Murdaugh, The Fall of a Southern Dynasty. It's out tomorrow. It's going to make a fantastic series, a scripted series. I'm manifesting it. I see it happening.
And when Craig manifests,
Yeah.
it happens.
There you go.
Thank you so much.